Hello and welcome back to Well, the podcast where we explore the intersection of wellness and just about everything else in life. Today, we're going to be talking about the data behind the scenes in the fitness industry, and our guest is Julian Barnes. He's the co-founder and CEO of the BFS Network, longtime friend and very respected individual in the industry because he comes to the table with data. The BFS Network is the premier growth accelerator and market intelligence hub for businesses in the fitness industry. Today, we're going to take a peek into the state of the industry report that they released for 2024 and continue to acquire data for 2025. We'll discuss some of the really surprise data points that the state of the industry report unveiled, and also what we can be doing as business owners, sometimes very simple shifts in our businesses that are going to help us move in the direction of higher profitability. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on some of the surprising facts and some of the takeaways that you might not be expecting. Hello, Julian. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Laura, thank you so much for the invitation to join you. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's funny. We've spent a lot of time together over the last 5 or 6 years in this industry, and it's kind of fun to see how we've both grown, evolved our offerings, our businesses, and I mean, man, we've both seen a lot.
In different cities too, Austin, LA, New York.
I know we get around. It's kind of fun. At least somebody was saying to me the other day, at least we get to go to cool places. I feel like I have gotten to go to some of the best restaurants, best, I don't know, like cultural scenes. It's been fun.
Well, I mean, it helps when we're always in New York, Vegas, or California.
I
So a
know.
little in Texas now. Texas is emerging.
Texas. Yeah,
You know.
for sure. I will be in Dallas in a few. Actually, we're
Yeah.
both in
See,
Dallas, I think, in a few weeks. Awesome. Well, obviously, we're going to be leaning into data and kind of industry trends today. And this convo, I really want to frame around your expertise, everything you've seen and everything that you guys survey and report on. I'm also just curious to dig into your story more. You're a little bit of this man of mystery, and I'd love to kind of get a peek behind the curtain. So tell us what led you to start BFS, your background there.
so the background is I identify as an athlete, entrepreneur, educator.
Okay.
Athlete, educator, entrepreneur in that order. So I was a competitive tennis player as a kid, was a certified tennis instructor when I was in law school. My first teaching actually was teaching tennis, and then started teaching business through NYU and Swedish Institute College of Health Sciences. And that was part of my entrepreneurial upbringing as well. So I had my whole teens and 20s was about teaching and being an athlete, and didn't really become an entrepreneur until exactly at I guess late 20s, early 30s. So New York
Okay.
City native, grew up around the business of fitness, grew up playing every sport, got into the career of fitness when I worked as the director of marketing for Oasis Day Spa and Velocity Sports Performance, both in New York City, both in the mid O's. And that led me on to a journey where I met NT, my business partner. And in 2017, he and I decided to finally work together. At that time, the BFS was very specific to producing conferences. It was boutique fitness.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
we realized that all of the conferences were in California, and they
Yeah.
were all multi-day conferences. And they had a very, very small percentage of attendees were studio owners. And there were two reasons for that. Number one, typical studio owner doesn't have 3 days to attend a conference. And
Nope.
number two, there are a lot of studio owners outside of California who just couldn't fly to California for 3 days. So when we started BFS originally as Boutique Fitness Summit, it was to produce conferences in New York, DC, Chicago that were 1-day conferences focused on boutique fitness studio owners to give them the opportunity to be inspired, to be motivated, to be taught best practices for running a studio. So that's what we did. 2018, 2019, we produced 5 of those conferences. And then, of course, the world shifted and we had to shift to online. And so the rest is history. But that's where it
Yeah.
started. In fact, the first ever state of the industry report, which is kind of funny, we really shouldn't even call it that, but we called it that, was at those conferences, we surveyed the people in
Oh.
the room, and we reported on their common characteristics. So in hindsight, it was a state of who's at this conference more so than the industry. But that's how we've evolved. That's how it started in 2018. And now in 2025, it is truly a state of the industry report representative of most of the entire world. But that's how it started.
Awesome. Gosh, well, side note on tennis. My husband's a big tennis player. I've been a tennis player. I'm kind of on hiatus right now, but that sport has got to be like the best connecting, networking, find people that are going to help promote you. It's amazing.
And there are people who some people take their sneakers with them on every business trip, and some people take their tennis rackets on every tennis trip. And either one, you can always find someone to run with. I like to run in a new city, like literally run a new city, because that's a great way of
Yeah.
discovery. You can't see it when you're in the back of a taxi or an Uber the same way as when you're pounding pavement. And
Yeah.
if you take your racket with you, then that's what just opens you up to a whole new world of the local tennis community wherever you're traveling.
Totally. I mean, little known fact about me, during COVID, my family and I moved to Maui to Hawaii for almost a year. And within 3 weeks of being there, joining a tennis club, we had a community. It's really
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
how connected you can get into a community, into a city once you start playing tennis.
So, the primary trade association for the fitness industry used to be called IHRSA. You know what the R stood for?
Racket.
Rackets. There is a strong tradition or correlation, strong linkage between the fitness and the tennis community in the history of this industry.
Yeah, and I don't know, my theory on that partly is that tennis was one of the first sports, thank you, Billie Jean King, to have both women and men playing. Like it wasn't only a men's only club. Women and men were playing. They were working hard together. There was an athletic aspect for both sexes, and I love that bled into fitness.
Well, and it's what you just said that your family did. You said your family joined a
Mm,
tennis club. Your family played tennis together. So more than men and women, what other sport can you think of where you see families engaging in it together on the
right.
weekend,
Right.
right?
I mean, now pickleball, which is a whole
I
nother
will,
topic.
as a tennis player, I will reserve my comments
Uh-huh.
on
Uh-huh.
that.
All right, man. Well, we could talk tennis, I'm sure, for this entire episode, but
Absolutely.
why we're really here. You are the data and trends guy in the industry. And one of the incredible things you've done is help businesses understand from a benchmarking perspective, from a best practices perspective, how to actually run a successful business and to reach profitability and beyond. So tell us about the State of the Industry report. Who filled it out? How many respondents? I guess, who are we listening to when we see this data?
All right. So number one, we received submissions for the report that's currently public, 350 responses. So we're now up to 500. We continue taking responses in a rolling basis. But for the published report, 350 responses from studios in 46 states, plus District of Columbia, plus Canada, Australia, and the UK were the largest countries outside of the US, with like double-digit submissions from those three countries, and then single one or two submissions from like another 14 countries. So overwhelmingly
Okay.
the US, and then Canada, UK, Australia, equally balanced between city and suburb. And for this
Okay.
purpose, we define city as population of 500,000 or more. Suburb is 50,000 to 500,000, and every modality covered. And this is also critically important. 91% of the respondents have 3 or fewer locations.
Mm,
71% are single locations, and only a handful are PE backed. So there's no Solidcore, no Barry's, no Soul Cycle in this report. And there are only a handful of PE backed groups of franchisees that
yeah.
accounts for less than 1% of the respondents. So when we talk about data and profitable studios, we're talking primarily about individually owned, self-financed boutique fitness studios all over the United States. In other words, the typical owner of a studio.
Yeah, I know. I think it's easy as business owners when you see all of these franchises popping up in neighborhoods to think that our industry is now dominated by large franchises,
It's
and
not.
that's not the case.
It's like restaurants, right?
Mm,
The overwhelming majority of us, when we go out to eat, we're eating at an independently owned restaurant. And even if you're eating at a franchise, you're eating at an individually owned franchise. Most of us aren't eating at Olive Garden and IHOPs of the world. And nothing wrong if you do, but that's not the majority of places
right.
where we eat. We just think it's the majority because of the advertising on television. Same thing with fitness. The majority of us exercise at an individually owned brick and mortar location.
Right. Right. Yeah. So as people are listening to this, sigh of relief, guys. We have not been completely taken over by mega corporations running fitness.
No.
There are still individuals, entrepreneurs that are running this industry.
And that's a
Yeah.
challenge and opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that you say it's a challenge and an opportunity because that's a lot of what this data showed is that there are quite a few businesses that are struggling still. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're seeing the number of businesses that are sustainably profitable grow.
Correct. So last time we published this report, 2022, we reported that 9.2%
Mm.
of all of the studios we surveyed had a profit margin of 20% or more. This year, that number almost doubled to 17%. 17% of the studios in our survey had a net income or EBITDA profit margin of 20% or more. Going forward, we've changed that question, so we'll be able to answer how many are 30% or more. Really, you're thinking about selling your business, most of the experts in the industry will tell you that to maximize your sale price, you want to achieve 30% profit margins. So that's one of the reasons why we talk about 20%. We wanted to make it accessible, but not too onerous. That's
Right.
why we chose 20%. So that's
Awesome.
the good news. Well, the industry has doubled the number of studios that are at 20% profitable, and 57.8% of all of the studios we surveyed are profitable.
Awesome.
17% less than 10% profitable, about 20% that are 10 to 19% profitable, and then another 17% that are 20% or more. Can I take a minute and explain why we focus on profitability?
Yeah, please. I think that's an interesting lens to look at the business through because we hear so often businesses talking about their revenue, and that
Right.
really is not what we need to be thinking about.
Now, it's profitability. We actually changed our mission last year to include the word profitable in our mission. Our mission is to support fitness studio owners in their growth to become profitable. Why is profitability so important? Beyond your sale price, like that's not affecting your day to day, but profitability and cash flow and cash reserves affects your ability to stay in business and serve your community. If you're in the fitness space, you didn't enter the fitness space because you wanted to become a millionaire, right? So you have a labor of love, a passion, a desire to help people and impact lives. And you can't impact lives if you can't stay in business. And if you can't achieve a profitable business, you can't stay in business. So profitability is really important because life is hard, life happens, and factors beyond your control will impede your ability to run your business. Just look at California back in January, the fires. We had several members who were affected by fires and closed their businesses. One of our members, unfortunately, lost her home of 20 years. So you think, well, that's, if anyone listening to this thinks, well, that's unlikely to happen to me. Okay, maybe it's not a California wildfire, but stuff happens. And when
Yep.
stuff happens, you need cash or credit line to be able to survive. So that's why our mantra is drive to profitability, not from a greed perspective, but so you can continue to deliver your services and have impact in your community. Every business owner who has employees has an obligation to their employees to stay in business. You increase the probability of doing that by focusing on profitability. And that ultimately means making some difficult decisions, probably on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I bet you're going to talk about that in one of our next questions. But when you look at this, all of the information that you got in, I mean, you can talk numbers all day, but I'm sure there were themes that kind of stuck out or surprised you in the responses. Can you talk to us about one or two of those that you were like,
Yeah,
wow?
absolutely. Two in particular. The thing that surprised us the most was among profitable studios, there was a very strong correlation between studios that had a dedicated manager. And I say dedicated, meaning not a teacher who's doing 5 hours of email, but someone whose primary responsibility is managing the day-to-day aspects of a studio. A very strong correlation between having a dedicated manager and top line revenue and profitability. Those studios that invested in having a manager had higher top line revenue and higher profits. And I want to emphasize top line revenue because there are a lot of essentially owner operator studios in smaller towns that make 250, 300 gross, and half of that is profit because their owner's teaching a lot. And that's a good business. You know, if you're in a town population, 100,000 people, and you're making $250,000 and half of that is profit, and you're not the sole provider in your house, you're a contributor, but not the sole, that's a good living. And we're not saying there's anything wrong with that. We're making a distinction, however, that $250,000 or 300,000 is not a high top line number because there's a limit to what an owner operator can do on a day-to-day basis, right? And so the second answer to your question is we found that profitable studios are consistently and rigorously implementing basic studio operations to get to profitability. And they're directly related. Now, when I say basic, I mean SOPs to find new leads, SOPs to convert those leads into visitors and then into recurring payments, SOPs to maximize the number of recurring clients and members. All those SOPs, no matter how simple and basic they are, require someone to oversee and manage those. Yeah. And so there's the direct correlation. The studios that have the highest top line revenue and the highest profit margin have a dedicated manager whose primary responsibility it is to develop, implement, manage the SOPs to find new leads, to convert those new leads into recurring payments, and then to retain those recurring members and clients by minimizing churn and elevating LTV. Someone has to do that. And it's almost impossible for the person who's responsible for hiring the instructors, training the instructors, managing the front desk, dealing with the landlord, dealing with investors, if you have any, being the face of the business on podcasts, in your community. If you're doing all that, then it's really difficult to also be the person who is overseeing the SOPs to find, enroll, and retain clients. And that's the correlation between managers that we discovered through the survey.
Yeah, in some ways it's so, I don't know, take a deep breath, everybody listening, because you don't have to do anything fancy. It sounds like this is just a rigorous commitment to the basics, like you said. These are simple business practices.
Exactly what it is. And that's the good news, right? You could hear me say highest revenue was with studios that have a manager, and someone might be listening to this and say, well, I can't afford a manager. That's fine. The most important takeaway is that, and this is, I guess, number 3 to your question, is we identified a formula that studios can use to increase their revenue by $50,000 annually. And we broke it down, and I'll share it with you here. I think you and your listeners will like it. $50,000 annually is $4,100 a month. If your average membership is $175, that means you need 24 new recurring clients annually to generate an extra $4,100 a month. And if you have $4,100 a month for 12 consecutive months, that's $50,000. So 24 net new members at an average membership price of $175 per member, 24 net new members over 12 months is 2 net new members per month. Everyone listening to this interview has the ability within themselves to go out and find 2 net new members, right? That's working the green markets in your neighborhood, the Little League games, the farmers markets, the local restaurants, the local businesses. It's asking for your existing members to bring their friends. It's just 2. Let's call it 3 so you can factor in, churn. Can you get 3 net new members every month for 12 consecutive months, right? You don't need a fancy, SEO agency or a paid marketing agency. You don't need to pay somebody $2,000 a month to run ads for you. You just need to do the basics of go out into your community and enroll people and then deliver an amazing experience. So you're impacting their lives. And when you're impacting their lives, they're not going to leave, right? Yep. So can you go out and get 2 or 3 new members every month? If you can do that for 12 consecutive months, by the beginning of the 13th month, your net profit will have increased by $50,000. We think that is an accessible formula that anyone listening to this has the ability to implement.
Well, and that also says to me, then 12 months from now, if you're the one sitting there saying, I can't afford a manager, guess what? You just made up a salary for a manager. Like this is maybe it's you need that money and you're going to pay yourself, but it also could be the salary you pay your manager. So next year it's 3, 4 times that, right? So this
Exactly.
is this is the basics we're talking about. And as you were speaking, I thought about it just asking your members. Your members want you to be there. Your members want you to be successful so that they still have a place to go because they love you. So
Correct.
if you sent out an email once a quarter that said, hey guys, I need 6 new members right now. Like, who's got them for me? Who wants to bring their daughter and buy a membership? Who wants to bring their best friend and start, lifting with them? I guarantee by having an authentic ask to your members, they're going to just check that box for you.
Yeah, and be proactive, like you said, proactive in the sense that sometimes from time to time we hear across industries about small businesses that are struggling and they send out an email and they launch a GoFundMe campaign to help me stay in business. And then people support that. But that's too late. Take that same approach while you're in business and say, come support me. And here's why. But what we haven't spoken about, because we don't often talk about the in-studio experience, but I like to remind people, first and foremost, your classes have to be amazing. Our focus is on the back of house, but none of the back of house matters if the front of house is average. If I take your class and it's like, meh, mid, whatever. So that's the first thing any new studio owner should focus on: developing his or her craft, making sure that their instructors are amazing, making sure that the class experience is consistent. Because when that happens, and then you invite your current member to bring their friend, their coworker, their child, well, that's an easy ask,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, everybody's happy to help then. And truly it's not even helping you, it's helping them most of the time. Like
exactly.
everyone has a better experience working out with a friend, working out with a loved one. It is definitely, there's the accountability, there's the fun, and there's just the energy in a room when you know somebody else is different.
It's the impact,
Yeah.
if you're having impact in someone's life, it's an easy ask to say, who else do you know who you like to share this impact with?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the fitness and wellness consumer for a moment because I think we've entered an era where there is just such an unbelievable fire hose of information coming at us from all sides right now around
Everywhere.
the idea of wellness. And overwhelmingly, data is showing that consumers are overwhelmed and they don't know where to turn. They're so overwhelmed that they do nothing, or they're so overwhelmed that they don't consider making any kind of a change. So if you're sitting in the seat of a studio owner right now and just thinking about our industry as a whole, how do we help solve that problem for consumers rather than just adding to the noise out there and just the overwhelm factor?
I don't have a great answer there for you because I'm trying to keep up myself with all the information out there. Let me answer your question slightly differently. The studio owner is the leader of his or her tribe. So the studio owner and the instructors, but especially the owner, are likely being asked questions from their clients and members about some of the things that they're reading. If I were that studio owner, I would identify 2 or 3 sources that I really trust that speak to the type of issues that my members are asking me about. And I would say, you know what, I'm not an expert in women's health over 40, but Dr. Stacey Sims is,
Hmm.
I'm not an expert in hormone replacement therapy, but this resource is. I wouldn't try and become an expert in all things, but
Yeah.
I would try and be a good referral source. So I'm maintaining the trust they have in me by recommending a trusted resource that's relevant to their questions.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a great point. So much of it is who do we trust right now? And so if they have the relationship with you and you can be that voice that says, you know what, here, I'm going to direct you to exactly point A, B, or C to answer that question, just their shoulders can drop away from their ears a little bit and they don't have to be the one figuring out, is that person
Yeah.
real
And
or
what are we being asked about? Nutrition, weight training, and hormonal changes in men's and women's bodies. Find an expert. And when I say expert, I don't mean the person with the most followers. So
yeah.
I'm going to give a plug to my alma mater. The School of Nutrition at Tufts University is one of the top 2 or 3 in the at least in the country. I've had a nutrition school since the 70s, have published a nutrition
Wow.
newsletter for over 30 years. And I'm working with the dean now on some initiatives to help unlock a lot of their expertise and share it with people. I've seen a lot of posts on Instagram from so-called nutrition experts that are directly inconsistent with what I've read in various Tufts newsletters. I'm going to trust a school of nutrition
Right.
versus an Instagram who has 1 million followers. I don't care.
Right.
I'm going to trust the expert. Mayo Clinic is a vetted
Hmm.
expert.
Yeah.
The
Clinic.
Cleveland Clinic, vetted expert.
Right.
Berkeley, Stanford, Harvard, Tufts, Nutrition, NYU, Miriam Nestle. These are experts, right? Now,
Right.
I'm not saying that the thought leaders coming across our Instagram are not, no, but the people I listen to or follow on Instagram all have a DR period in front of their name. Dr. Hugh, Dr. Gabrielle
Right.
Lyons, Dr. Rhonda Patrick,
Right.
Doctor, or PhD. So that's just
Right.
my preference. So I would recommend to a studio owner, identify 2 or 3 qualified, vetted experts and refer those experts to the members, and don't try and be everything to your members, but try and guide them without being the definitive answer to their questions.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. I think we play a big role in the lives of our clients, our consumers, because they really do look to us as the stewards of their health and wellness in a lot of ways. And so it's nice to have references or referrals, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
there.
owners are the leaders. They're the leaders of their tribe. They're the leaders of a tribe, like a pastor, like a rabbi leads their flock. It's the same thing, except you're actually seeing your members more frequently than a
Yeah.
pastor or reverend is seeing their congregation. But it's the same bonded, trusted relationship.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to kind of as we start to wrap up, just get your overall thoughts about the state of our industry. I mean, we've seen a lot of change since COVID, kind of change in the, I guess, even the definition of what the boutique quote fitness industry is, because we're seeing so many what have traditionally been seen as maybe alternative wellness strategies being pulled into the fitness world. How are you feeling about it? Do you feel like we're moving in the right direction? Any big red flags?
Yes and yes. Are we moving in the right direction? Yes. The profitability says we're moving in the right direction. This would be hard to hear because no one celebrates anyone's demise,
Hmm.
but COVID also eliminated a lot of studios that just weren't well run, and it freed up resources. And that's the good news. It freed up resources in terms of space, in terms of money, in terms of talent, so that the better run studios have access to those resources to expand. And so we are seeing that. We're seeing groups of people, investors, who are either buying up studios and helping them to operate better or investing in new studios. So that's all good. People wouldn't be putting their money in the industry if they didn't see the opportunity. So that's good news. We're moving in the right direction. The two headwinds, I guess I would say, that concern me. Number one, there are some franchisors that seem to be focused on opening locations more so than on getting those locations to profitability.
Hmm.
And you'll hear some people talk about a metric of success in this industry as the number of new locations opened. That's not the metric of success to me. It's not number of new locations, it's number of locations that are achieving a minimal 10% profit margin. And I say minimal
Right.
10% because you're like one broken boiler away from break even
Yeah.
if you're at 10%, right? So what's preventing us from having more profitable studios? That 57% I mentioned, I would love for that number to be 80, 90%. And
Right.
what I think is limiting this industry from getting there is there's still too many people who open studios as a passion project as opposed
Yep.
to opening them with an intention of running it as a business. And I've had owners tell me 6 to 12 months after opening, I've had owners who were sales professionals in corporate America, and then they opened a studio and they didn't want to sell. I've
Oh
had
my
those
gosh.
people they've told me I didn't think I had to sell, or I opened a studio because I didn't want to sell.
Oh
And they told
man.
me this on their way to closing the studio. So where there's an opportunity for this industry is a mindset shift towards acknowledging that you're running a business, not a hobby or
Yeah.
passion project, and recognizing that to run a business, you need to acquire a wide range of skills to help you become a better business person. You don't have to have worked in corporate America for 20 years. We have a member. She's one of your clients, a lifelong instructor, no
Yeah.
corporate experience, owns 5 locations. She she taught herself. She enrolled in this program. She joined BFS. She probably went to the local SBA and enrolled in there. There's so much information out there now online in your community that can help you learn the fundamentals of running a business. You don't have to have 10 to 20 years corporate business experience, but
Right.
you have to have the mindset to recognize that you need to learn about business, and you can't just be excited about teaching your method,
Yeah.
because that's a hobby. That's not a business. So that is
Yeah.
both an opportunity and a challenge, because that's so easily fixable, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I can't find a space to open my business. No, this is just devote 30 minutes a day to professional development and becoming a better business person, better leader, better manager. And you'll see the benefits of that investment in the type of decisions you make. And we'll go from 57% profitable to 67 and 87 if
Yeah.
there's a greater mindset shift towards we're running a business that is changing lives. The two
Yeah.
things are not inconsistent.
Right. Right. I think you at BFS, we as Walla have so many examples of those humans that chose that path, that I am going to be a dedicated business person and I'm going to learn how to, they're grinders. They're naturally grinders. You have to have that as a part of the equation. But they're people that have committed to improving their knowledge of the business of fitness and making sure that's a part of daily life.
And it's both, right? I mentioned earlier, you have to deliver an amazing experience in your classroom. So you have to be attending teacher training programs,
Hmm.
getting your CECs, idea, perform better, wherever. You have to do that. And there's a business version of getting your CECs. Someone I think we both know who is one of the most successful, respected operators in this industry annually publishes his reading list. And his reading
Oh,
list
cool.
it's impressive, right?
Yeah.
Over 20 years, Google Mark Fisher fitness reading list, and you'll find
Wow.
his reading list. Mark Fisher's claim to fame, this is public data, highest annual revenue at a single location for a personal training gym. Over 10 years, Mark grossed over $34 million in 10 years,
Oh
3.4
my
million a
gosh.
year. Again, this is all public. And so Mark is a thespian. His
Yeah.
degree from Syracuse is in acting. Mark is an actor. And if you know
I
Mark,
love it.
he'll
Yes.
appreciate this. Actor, not law school, not business school, didn't go to Wharton. He's an actor who loves to read. And he's one of the most knowledgeable people I know about the business. And he's not just reading the business of fitness, he's
Right.
reading business and finance and sales and everything from Zig Ziglar
Yep.
and all that stuff. So
Oh
I'm
man.
not saying you have to do that. I'm saying you have to invest a little bit of your time, 30 minutes a day, in becoming a better business person.
Yeah.
That's all.
I love it.
And if we can do that as an industry, we'll improve the profitability. We'll have more profitable, individually owned mom and pop studios. And those studios are serving their communities, delivering impact. We'll bend the public health crisis. We'll reduce obesity.
Yep.
We'll increase longevity. But it starts with staying in business so you can do those things.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you may have just answered my last question for you, because I think that is a pretty important thing to underscore an exclamation point. But if you could draft an Instagram post, a social media post that every single studio owner would see, what would it say?
They're not going to like it. It would say your community is not your moat.
Ooh, that's good.
So as you can imagine, I mean, as you know, we lead peer network groups of studio owners, and we talk
Right.
to studio owners all day, every day. And every studio owner wants to talk about his or her community. Oh, our community is special. Our community is different. You think it's special. You think you're different because you're drinking your own Kool-Aid. But when
Yep.
I'm hearing 20 of you say the same thing every week, it's not special. So your community is not your unique value proposition. So let me underscore that. I live in the neighborhood of Harlem in New York City, and we have now 3 reformer-based Pilates studios in a 7-block radius on the same avenue.
Wow.
So from 111th to 119th, 8 blocks, 3 reformer studios, same
Wow.
avenue, tapping into the same neighborhood, the same demographics. Now, each of those 3 may have a different community within their walls, certainly possible, but is that enough of a unique value proposition that's going to be the determining reason for why one of those three is more successful than the other two. So I'm not saying community is not important. It's just everyone talks about their community like no other studio has a community. Every
Right.
studio has a community. So
Yeah.
that can't be your moat. It's got to be something else. Or
Yeah.
that can't be your only contributor to your moat. You need that and something else. Do you have the best
Yeah.
instructors, the best classes, the best music, the best machines? Are you open all the time? Are you the cleanest? Do you have childcare? Do you have recovery? Do you have showers? Got to be something else, because I can go
Yeah.
to any one of those three Pilates studios. Why am I going to pick one over the other two? Or I'm likely going to visit all three. What factors am I going to use to select the one of the three I'm going to stay at?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I would argue the two things that are going to make you really, really stand out there are hospitality, which we've both agreed on,
Yep.
like the actual experience you have walking in, not just the class, but from stepping through the door until even after you walk out, what does the hospitality experience feel like? But B is, are you delivering on the result you're promising that client? And what maybe the result is that you feel like you belong to a group of people, but oftentimes the result is, I need a moment to just breathe and feel like nothing's being asked of me for an hour of my day, or
No,
I want to lose this weight. Whatever your specific promise is, are you delivering on that better than anybody else?
I think those are two great answers. And I would add to hospitality. Hospitality is directly related to Maya Angelou's famous quote about
Mm,
people remember how you make them feel. So if
yep.
you're delivering impact, physical impact and mental health impact, I'm going to feel great every single day. I'm going to feel great physically. I'm going to feel great mentally. My sleep is going to improve because you're delivering an impactful exercise class. And if you do that, guess what? I'm willing to walk past one or two or 10 studios to get to the one that delivers
Yep.
impact. And this is really important, remembers my name,
Mm, yeah.
right? They remember my name. It's not just like, oh, hey, you want to check in today? Hey,
Hmm.
Julian, great to see you. This, that, whatever. Like that's part of hospitality, the
Yeah.
how we make people feel. So
Yeah.
that's my answer to your question.
All
Community is
right.
important. It's the most
It's
important.
not your moat. Okay. Well, I think that summarizes it all very well. And I'm so grateful we had the time with you today. And for people that are interested in contributing their data to your state of the industry report and reading what you have, where's the best place for them to find you and what should they do?
bfsreport.com,
Okay.
and they will be guided to all the options to complete the assessment. They can read a summary of the report. They can purchase the report, and we should give your listeners a promo code if they want.
Yeah.
But the easiest way to get a free copy of the report is to complete the assessment. When you complete the
Yeah.
assessment, you get an automatic free copy of the report. And we're releasing the BFS Pilates report and the BFS
Mm,
Strength report later on this month. And that's going to have even more data than the original report has, specific to Pilates and strength. So look for that, the BFS Pilates report
awesome.
and the BFS Strength report.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of listeners in both of those categories, and I'm particularly curious about Pilates because of the insane number of studios we've seen open in the last 2 years. So it'll
It's
be,
literally like planting money and harvesting it in 2 or 3 months.
oh
For
my
those who are
gosh,
doing it
it's
well,
wild.
like that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
amazing. Cool.
All right, well, thank you so much. Really had a lot of fun here today.
Yes, awesome. All right, we'll see you guys next time on Well, Well, Well.